Hello. Um, my name is Michelle Nelson-Schmidt. I'm an author for Keen Miller, Osborne Books and More Publishing. My books are Jonathan James and the What If Monster, Bob is a Unicorn, Cordelia. Let's not forget Dogs, Dogs, and Cats, Cats, and Little Dog and Mouse. I love Little Dog and Mouse. These are my guys. These are my babies. And I travel all over the country. And right now I am in Seattle, Washington. Like you guys didn't know that. Anyway, and I was asked by Sarah Brabeck, a consultant, an awesome consultant, in Minnesota, if I would do a video telling my story and how I got to be sitting on a floor, because this is the best lighting. Like, you guys want to see behind? Like, see, I'm in Seattle. Can you see that? Is it coming through? Yeah, there. So, look, you guys, sun in Seattle. What? Anyway, okay, so she just said there's a thing that I say when I talk to consultants, and I always say, please always offer this opportunity to sell these books, not just because they're the best books in the whole wide world, and you become a warrior for literacy if you do sell them, because books totally change lives for children, but because it could change the life of an adult. And I say that because of my story. So I'm going to try not to be too wordy. I yap, yap, yap. I talk a whole lot. That's why part of my job is to go do presentations, because I love to yap, 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 talk, talk, talk to people. But, so my story starts out a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away when I graduated art school, 7 months pregnant, unmarried, and was a graphic design major, and found myself in a pretty tough situation. Because, you know, sometimes we make choices that make our life harder, and that's just the way it goes, and life goes on, and you survive somehow. But boy, when you've just made the choice that made you an unwed mother, and Dad was still in the picture, but it was hard. We were two art students right out of art school. Didn't know what the heck we were doing. We were young. I was 22, and my son's father was 25. We did later get married when Noah was 11 months old. He looked so cute in a little suit at the wedding. Anyway, but times were really hard. We did not have a lot of money. We didn't have experience as artists. He was a photographer. I was a graphic designer. And it's really hard to get a job when you are 7 months pregnant. No one will hire you out of school. So I freelanced right away. And it's hard to get freelance work when you have no experience. So I was stuck in this cycle. And the same thing for my husband. And y'all, whew, we were poor. Like, that's just the only way to put it. I think we were living on about $1,600 a month, and I thought I was going to go to work, and Noah was going to, I didn't know what we were going to, I thought I was going to go work, and I held that baby in my hands and in my arms. I'm like, yeah, that's not going to happen. So, and I knew that was going to be the tougher decision, because 2 incomes in to put a kid in daycare, which is totally valid, like, that would work, but I just didn't want to do that. And I didn't know I didn't want to do that until I knew I didn't want to do that. And for anybody that is doing that, hey, totally awesome. My niece went into daycare at like 12 weeks old, and she rocks, and she's awesome, and she has awesome parents. So, like, there is no wrong parenting choice. If mom and dad are happy, then the kids are happy. But off on a tangent. So anyway, but like, when I say we didn't have money, we did not have money. We were on public assistance. At one point we had WIC. Thank goodness for WIC. It gives you awesome government cheese and beans and peanut butter and milk and eggs, and thank goodness for WIC, or we probably wouldn't eat sometimes. A lot of scrambled egg days. Luckily kids don't realize that their parents are poor, so that was good. But I mean, I had some really humbling moments, y'all. Really, really humbling moments. Like when my son developed this terrible diaper rash. I mean, horrible, horrible. And we brought him, I brought him to the doctor, and I had like no gas money. And I got to the doctor, and the doctor, and we were on Medicaid. My son was. I had no insurance. You don't have insurance when you're a parent. Your kids do. Your kids do. Georgia Peach Care. What? Thank you for taking care of my kids. But anyway, I went to the doctor, and the doctor was like, oh, this is just a yeast infection, and all you got to do is get some antifungal cream, and it's no big deal. Just go to the drugstore and pick it up. Well, as soon as I heard that, in my head, that was a problem, because I had $10 in my pocket. $10. That was it for like probably a week and a half. For 10 days, like I had $10. And so when he said that, I'm like, oh my gosh, because if he had written a prescription, it would have been free. But I had to go and get this. It was actually Tinactin foot cream. This is a memory, y'all. This is a memory. So I went to, it was Winn-Dixie. I remember that. And went to go look it up. And y'all, it was expensive. I think it was like $11.99. I mean, it's expensive. And I didn't have enough money for it. And my son needed it. Like, his diaper rash was raging. My son was in pain, and it was bright red, and it was awful. So I took the Tinactin out of the box. I put it under my son in his baby carrier, and I walked out and stole it. And it is not a proud moment in my life, but moms, we're going to do what we got to do, and I did that, and that was probably one of my lowest points, but there were so many low points. Like when I was pregnant with Sophie Lofi, my daughter, who is now 18, and didn't have insurance for her either, because I kept getting smarter and smarter, y'all. And so now I had 2 kids, and I was poor. And we totaled, my husband back then, he totaled both our cars 2 separate times. Yeah. So I had to take a taxi to go have my daughter. We had to get rides from friends so I could go to my doctor's appointments. That was awesome. That was fun. And after she was born, a week after she was born, I was walking a double stroller to the grocery store every 3 days to get, formula or diapers or milk. Like, good times. Good times. Yeah. So, in our marriage, as you can imagine, when money issues and immaturity mix, it doesn't make for a very good marriage. And we eventually did split up when my kids were about 6 and 8 years old. Ugly, terrible divorce. Just awful. But I knew that I wanted more. And I'll get back, I'll circle back to this part. But I'll tell you what, when I was a mom struggling with money, and I was living in a crappy, disgusting basement apartment with rats and cockroaches. If somebody had offered me this opportunity, it would have been life-changing. Like, I would go to the park, and I was with all the nannies, because I was in a pretty rich area, and which was humbling again, seeing all these nannies that had all this stuff for these kids and all these great snacks, and like I was lucky if like I had a fruit roll up for my kid, God, those times. There were some really sweet times too, but that's hard to remember. It's hard to remember the things I couldn't provide for my kid, and if somebody had said, hey, I have this opportunity for you, or I sell books, or do you want a discount on books? And, I don't know if I would have had $25 or $70 or whatever, but I know you consultants, you make this work for somebody that would have been like me. Like, you might have bought my kit for me and said, you can pay me back. And now that there's Facebook parties, God, y'all, I cannot even begin to tell you how much $300 extra would have made a difference in my life. I mean, $300 extra would have been back then like $1,000 extra. I mean, that's a difference between a car payment. I mean, maybe a crappy car, but still, it would have gotten us a car. it would have been groceries, it would have been diapers, it would have been extra food in the cupboard. It would have made everything a huge, huge difference. And that's why I always say, please, please, please. I know you might have that analogy. Some of you, oh, I start crying. Share the chocolate share this opportunity. It's such a good opportunity. But don't forget, like, I was never going to tell people how poor I was. I was never going to tell anyone out loud how desperate I was. But if somebody had made this business opportunity, because I was an entrepreneur, I mean, I freelanced, I worked it, I hustled, I knew. So this opportunity, I promise you, if somebody had offered it to me back then, I would not be making books. I'd be selling them. I would be selling these books because they're incredible and they are life-changing books. So please offer this opportunity to young moms and parents out there, because it can change a life. And you don't need sometimes to be making a full income. You don't need $3,000-$4,000 a month. Sometimes you need $300 or $400 a month, and you could change a life forever. So I beg of you, and I sell this company to everybody because, yes, it's my publisher and I love y'all so much, but I know what this company does for children. I know what this company does for parents and families, and possibly keeps families together, because, like I said, money matters. And I don't think that was my only issue in my marriage, but that's a whole nother story. Anyway, but to circle back to the rest of my story, how am I here today with my babies, traveling all over this country for 6 years now, 34 states, almost at the end of this year, 1 million children I will have talked to because of this company. How did that happen? Well, towards the end of my marriage, I started doing pet portraits, because I had drawn some pictures of my dog Lucy with some chalk on the sidewalk, and it just really like connected with me. I looked at this little drawing and I was like, oh my gosh, it's so cute. And I made a pet portrait out of it, and then I did some for friends, and then I started doing art festivals, and people started really ordering these pet portraits, and it really supplemented my income, and started to change my life, started to change the quality of life, because I started to make more money on the side with these paintings. But when I found out people wanted to buy my art, that was just the biggest confidence booster ever. And so I finally kind of admitted out loud to myself, well, what I really want to do is write and illustrate children's books. And you guys, I would go into Barnes and Noble and Borders when it existed, and I love children's books. I've loved them since ever. And I used to go, and I couldn't afford to buy them, but I would go into Barnes & Noble and Borders, and I would go to the children's section and take big stacks of books, children's books, and read them. And the ones that would just touch my heart, touch my soul, I would cry or I would gasp. They were just so beautiful. I swore to myself one day I would write books like that. And the stories I get, I feel like I've accomplished that. But how did I get there? Keep circling back, Michelle. Talk. Is that these pet portraits I finally researched how you get published. I researched it for a long, long time, and then finally put myself out there, got rejected, made every mistake you can make. No matter how much you try to not make mistakes and learn, you still make them. And the rejections help you, even if they rip your heart right out of your body, because it's like, here's my baby, please judge it. And boy, people judge it harshly. And they all, your baby's ugly. We don't like your baby. Your baby's not cooked yet. Like, that's not a done baby. Like, ugh. Like, that's what you get. Like, if you're a potential writer, just get used to it. Rejection is part of life. Whew. And anyway, so for 3 years I got rejected. And finally, Kira Lynn, my hero, she said yes to Dogs, Dogs, and Cats, Cats. And then I started doing school visits, and then the What If Monster showed up, and then Bob is a Unicorn showed up, and then Dog and Mouse, which I feel so bad, I don't have a Dog and Mouse plush, and then Cordelia, she showed up. And y'all, next is coming Beatrice, and if you don't know about Beatrice, well, just follow my Facebook page, because you'll find out about Beatrice. So anyway, it's a true rags to riches story. Well, it's a middle class income with my parents to rags. And you know, I'm not rich, but kids ask me if I'm rich, and I love that, because I say, well, you know what? I have a job that I wake up every day that I love to do. I mean, I love it. I wake up and cannot wait to start my day every single day. And I make enough money that if I save up, I can take nice vacations. I can pay for my kids' college. I can have savings for the first time in my life. And do I have a private jet? Do I, have a gigantic house and drive crazy tens of cars? That's not rich. That's not rich. That's having a lot of money. Rich is when you get to wake up every day and love who you get to be in this world. And you do have enough money to pay your bills. And you do have enough money to if you're careful and plan, to do nice things. Like that's rich, dude. That's magical. And that's what I have, a magical life. And I have it because of this company. Usborne Books and More, and you people that sell these books, never underestimate how important you are to this world, because you change children's lives, and more importantly, you change parents' lives. And that's everything. That is everything, isn't it? So that's my story. 16 minutes. Try to make it shorter, but blah, blah, blah. I yap. All right, you guys. Love you. Share this video far and wide. If anybody is thinking about joining this company, do it. You know what? And it might just be a season for you. You don't have to make it a career for the rest of your life. Maybe it's just a season. Maybe you just do it for a year or two. Maybe you just do it until your kid's in kindergarten. Maybe you do it for extra income while your husband's going back to school, or, whatever. You can do this and share it with others, because you never know how life-changing one simple conversation is. Hey, let me tell you about these books. Let me tell you about this girl, Cordelia. Or the What If Monster. Or my Bob. Love my Bob. All right, you guys. I love you. I love you. I love you. Thank you so much for letting me take some time of yours. Bye.